Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone who has been taking the time to listen to these online briefings each day. As we have been discussing in these daily updates, Missouri and the nation are facing an unprecedented public safety emergency. Across the country, COVID-19 is not only a threat to our health, it is putting people out of work, closing schools, and changing the way we live our lives. I want Missourians to know we are doing everything we can to protect public health, to support our citizens, and respond to COVID-19 in every way possible. That is why I have now requested that President Trump approve a major disaster declaration for the entire state of Missouri. A federal disaster declaration will help relieve the cost local governments are facing and will continue to face in the weeks ahead. Although the situation is still developing, it's already clear COVID-19 will have a more sweeping impact across the entire state than any other disaster we have dealt with in our lifetimes. I have requested President Trump to approve disaster unemployment assistance to help the many people who we know will be out of work for some period of time. I've also requested federal assistance for the crisis counseling for our local mental health providers, supporting Missourians dealing with the strain of COVID-19. And to help our local governments and nonprofit agencies, I have requested federal assistance with the cost for the first responders and other emergency expenses. Yesterday, we also told you about the $18 million from our state budget I directed to supply PPE equipment for hospitals and first responders. I want to assure Missourians that each day we will continue to do everything in our powers to adapt to this challenging and to protect the people of our state. There is no doubt the COVID-19 crisis will have a serious impact on our economy. The impact on Missouri businesses and nonprofit organizations has already been extreme. As we said on Monday, our request for assistance through the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program has been approved. This will make low-interest disaster loans available statewide to small businesses and private, nonprofit organizations that are severely impacted by the COVID-19. The Missouri Department of Economic Development has also been actively reaching out to business leaders across the state to see how they can assist during this time of challenge. DED is also exploring other creative ways to contribute to our COVID-19 response efforts, such as repurposing community development block grant funds. Director Rob Dixon is here today and will share more details about actions the department is taking. In addition to DED, the Missouri Department of Labor and Industry Relations is also taking steps to assist the many businesses and workers impacted by COVID-19. In just the past week, the Missouri Department of Labor and Industry Relations has received nearly 30% of the total number of unemployment claims filed in 2019. To assist businesses and workers impacted by this public health crisis, the department is allowing temporary flexibility in the unemployment insurance program relating to the work search requirement, the 1-week waiting period, and the charging of COVID-19 related claims. Director Hugh will share more details about these temporary measures. As the COVID-19 crisis develops, each day, Missouri's food supply has become another area of growing concern. On Monday, I assured you that Missouri's food supply is strong. Agriculture plays a vital role in taking care of our most basic needs during a public health emergency. And the Missouri Department of Agriculture has been working closely with its partners to maintain our strong food supply chain. Director Chin and her team have heard from farmers, ranchers, and agriculture leaders that they are ready to respond to COVID-19. Yesterday, I approved a request from the DHS Director, Williams, to create a consistent directive across local governments for any individual or business that is part of the food supply chain. Farmers, ranchers, agriculture businesses, and grocery stores are encouraged to continue essential business functions to feed our citizens. This guidance supports the list published last week by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, identifying the food and agriculture industry as critical infrastructure in the COVID-19 response. Farmers, ranchers, and agribusinesses are crucial pieces of our society at all times, but especially right now. These are unprecedented times, and I want every worker and employer involved in the food industry to know that your work has never been more important. Obviously, employee safety and public safety are our first priority. If you are sick, stay at home. However, if you're able to work, we need you at your farm, we need you in your truck, we need you at the grocery store, and everywhere else to keep doing your job and keep our farm products on America's shelves. Our food supply is strong, as the men and women who drive our trucks and tractors. Your efforts through these difficult times will sustain our communities and our nation. Now, I would like to turn this over for Director Karsten for a few comments on the public safety update. Director?
Thank you, Governor Parson, and good afternoon, everyone. As we face the growing spread of the coronavirus cases across Missouri, I want to assure you that our public safety team remains strong, and we continue to work with our local partners around the state on doing everything we can to meet these challenges. This includes not only protecting the public, but also our frontline personnel in law enforcement, the fire service, EMS, and in hospitals and healthcare facilities across the state. And it also means adjusting and adapting as conditions change. Yesterday, I told you that Governor Parson had provided DPS and SEMA with an additional $18 million for the purchase of PPE, personal protective equipment. Among other materials, we were using the funding to purchase N95 masks. We purchased 4.2 million of those, along with surgical masks, gowns, gloves, and other PPE. Well, today, because of the growing demand for PPE, Governor Parson shifted an additional $11 million from other budget areas so DPS and SEMA can purchase additional PPE. In addition to our SEMA fiscal and operations staff working to acquire PPE, we have shifted folks from other SEMA programs to assist them. This is a true team effort. I'm very proud of how our team is working together in this unprecedented situation. And we know that Missourians and Americans are also adapting, and what we're seeing is truly encouraging. For instance, one of the vendors we have been working with on PPE is a home bedding company. They have changed one of their factories into a production facility for PPE masks and gowns. It has the capability to produce and ship 1 million masks a day. This is exactly the type of creative adaptation that's going to help us win the battle against COVID-19. We're adapting across DPS and state government to meet the needs of this unique situation. At the Missouri State Highway Patrol, since the gaming industry is shuttered right now, gaming division troopers are being shifted to the Field Operations Bureau, where they will be helping patrol the roads and perform other critical tasks that we face in this changing environment. One final thing, there is nothing that keeps our team going like the positive feedback we receive from those that we serve. This morning, our Strategic National Stockpile Warehouse team shipped out PPE for more than 100 Missouri EMS agencies and long-term health care facilities. In addition, they were preparing 20 large PPE freight shipments. It's a lot of work, and they're doing it very quickly, and they're working day and night. It was about that time that the SEMA team got a cheerful call from a long-term health care facility. Their residents are all well. Their staff are utilizing best practices in everything they do, including the PPE that was shipped to them. They just wanted to let us know they'd received an order of the masks and the PPE and how much of a difference it made for their facility. We appreciate calls like that, and we, like the people of Missouri, are adapting to the changing situations. We will continue to adjust and be flexible as we meet the demands of COVID-19. We will continue working together as Missourians to meet the challenges of this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We will now go to Director Dixon of the Economic Development. Director.
Thank you, Governor. Hi, I'm Rob Dixon. I'm the Director of the Missouri Department of Economic Development. You know, businesses of all size and in all communities all across our state are being hurt by this virus, and that means Missouri's families and working families of our state are being hit even harder. You know, the Governor has provided clear and sober information about what we can expect today and in the coming months, both from a public health perspective, but also from an economic perspective as well. The measures that have been taken by all agencies in state government are designed specifically to slow the spread of the virus, but also to help blunt the economic effects of it as well. But first, I wanted to start off with a word of thanks to Missouri's businesses and workers. You know, right now, our focus has been on ensuring that the private sector is helping to marshal those resources that are needed in the medical field and in first responders that you just heard from Director Carson talk about, really to help provide the assistance on those immediate public health needs. And as you heard, that is the front line of this fight, and PPE are the most needed materials in this fight and in this crisis that we're facing. We are working with manufacturers, suppliers, sales companies all across the state right now, those that might have the opportunity to shift their production lines, and you just heard about one of those. And I can tell you that manufacturing does not shift on a dime. It's not something you can turn on and off like that. So it's an incredible statement to hear that Missouri businesses are stepping up and helping to provide the critical need in this fight against COVID-19. Businesses all across Missouri are stepping up, and I can't thank them enough because this truly is an all-hands-on-deck situation. They've been offering their assistance and their resources all across Missouri. Because of the governor's actions last week, small businesses and nonprofit organizations now have access to low-interest loans that are particularly helpful right now and for those businesses and nonprofits that are most in need of assistance. We've published that information widely on our website at the Department of Economic Development. You can also find details on it at health.mo.gov. As the governor mentioned earlier today, the Community Development Block Grant is a flexible tool that we use in economic development to assist with a wide variety of functions. We've been able to utilize that program and those financing tools available to us over the course of the COVID-19 epidemic to help purchase medical equipment and other supplies, and also to help free up funding in other areas that can be addressed towards our public health needs. Finally, I'd note that the governor has issued a series of executive orders over the last several days and weeks that really charge all of us in state government to do our part to help address both the public health and the economic effects of this. You've seen actions in the Department of Revenue, you've seen actions in the Department of Commerce and Insurance and MoDOT. You're going to hear from two of our colleagues in the Department of Labor and Agriculture, as well as many others. And all of our state agencies are trying to directly address the needs of business, families, and workers all across Missouri as we all deal with the ongoing effects of this issue. As Governor Parson mentioned, we're going to be feeling the economic effect of COVID-19 for a very long time. But by working together, by working with our private sector, and by keeping our eye focused on what we need to do to move forward, we are going to get through this. And I very much appreciate the support of Missouri's communities and our private sector who are stepping up every single day, every hour of every day to help us address this. Thank you so much.
Rob, thank you very much for that. Now we're going to go to the Director of Department of Labor for an update with Director Hugh. Director?
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Hugh, H-U-I, and I'm the Director of the Missouri Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. In this past week, we've certainly received quite a few claims, and as Governor Parson had indicated, it is basically 30% of what we actually took over the last year in 2019. So that is an incredible number. We've had a lot of interest in what those weekly numbers are, and let me just direct you first to the Department of Labor's website, labor.mo.gov/data, that has previous week data information for you to have a reference. And then tomorrow morning, after the U.S. Department of Labor puts out its weekly numbers, we will have the numbers posted up on the Missouri Department of Labor's website at that page, labor.mo.gov/data, to have the weekly numbers for Missouri up as well in the 8 o'clock hour here in Missouri. As Dr. Dixon and the governor have indicated, we have worked together with our cabinet colleagues, and in order to assist Director Williams and the Department of Health and Senior Services efforts to address this public health crisis. The department will implement temporary flexibility measures in the unemployment insurance program that will allow, again, help to both workers and businesses. The first one is we'll temporarily relax the work search requirement for COVID-19 related claims. The second is that we'll temporarily waive the waiting week for unemployment insurance claims filed due to COVID-19. This will decrease some of the processing time and get benefits to eligible workers faster. The third is temporarily waiving the charging of COVID-19 related claims on employers' unemployment insurance accounts. This will help employers avoid the negative impact of these claims against their payroll tax rate. We expect these numbers to continue to grow in terms of the weekly claims, but please know that we are actively monitoring the web-based system 24/7. We've added capacity, we have added staff, so we have all support systems in place. And again, you can file a claim at uinteract.labor.mo.gov. Our web-based system is called uInteract. And right now, 95% of all claims being filed are being done online. And that is because it's a 24/7 system, and that is really the most efficient way to get your claim in. As soon as you are unemployed, please do file your claim. The sooner you get that claim in, the sooner we have an opportunity to adjudicate it and determine whether you are eligible. In addition, we are working with a number of the employers across the state in terms of filing mass claims. This will certainly help with workers in the initial filing of the unemployment claim, but then they will have to keep up with the weekly reporting on that claim. And then finally, employers, including those in government as well as other sectors, can certainly call us and talk with us to participate in the shared work program, which again is an alternative option to layoffs. It includes, benefits for both workers and employers in that program. So please do contact us. And with that, I'll turn it back to the governor. Thank you.
Anna, thank you very much. Next up, the Director of Agriculture, Director Chin.
Thank you, Governor Parson. I'm Chris Chin, Director at the Missouri Department of Agriculture, and I want to thank all of the people who are on the front lines of this issue, who are making sure that our community stays safe. Those who are involved in healthcare, doctors and nurses, to those who are in our county health departments, you play an important role in making sure that our rural communities are safe, and we want to thank you for that. To our law enforcement officers, as well as our first responders, thank you. And also to our teachers who have had to find new ways to try and educate. We appreciate everything that you're doing. We at the Department of Agriculture, we understand how important agriculture is to every Missourian. We know that food has to stay on the shelves. The men and women who work on the front lines of agriculture have been working diligently every day to make sure that they have the food supply that we need. I know that many of you, when you go to the grocery stores, you're seeing empty shelves. I want to make sure you understand this is not a supply issue. This is a demand issue. We in agriculture are working around the clock to make sure that those shelves get restocked. Spring is a very critical time in Missouri agriculture. Our farmers are gearing up to plant. That means that the seed and fertilizer dealers have a lot of work to do to make sure that farmers have the supplies they need to get that seed planted in a timely manner. For our ranchers, they're finishing calving season, but they're also trying to make sure that their hogs and their poultry have the feed that they need. That means that our feed mills and our truckers are working diligently to make sure that that feed arrives on those farms in a timely manner. Many small businesses operate with a very small team, and that is true in agriculture as well. Our grain elevators, our livestock markets, our grocery stores, they all have small teams, and it's so important that those teams remain healthy and able to work. We need every man and woman who works in agriculture and food production to be there now more than ever. Agriculture is an important part of everyone's lives, but right now during this emergency, it's more important than ever. We at the Department of Agriculture have taken steps to ensure that our team is here to support our agriculture industry. We've heard from many in agriculture who are worried about being able to haul larger loads to make sure they get the food product there in a timely manner. We heard you, and we worked with our partners at the Missouri Department of Transportation to fix that challenge. The next challenge that we faced was making sure that we kept our workforce healthy and to make sure that they were able to get to work on time. We knew that we needed to make sure that there was no interruption in that food supply chain. And yesterday, with the help of the governor and the Department of Health, we fixed that challenge as well. Last week, the Department of Homeland Security identified essential critical infrastructure workers during the COVID-19 response. Agriculture and food joined the list of essential workers alongside healthcare, public safety, and others. I want to take a moment to thank the leaders in Kansas City, St. Louis, Columbia, and Springfield for emphasizing the important role that food and agriculture play in giving guidance to their citizens. We appreciate that support. As the governor said, we worked with his office and the Department of Health and Senior Services to ensure that our food supply chain does not get interrupted during this critical time for our state. The decisions that we make today will have a direct impact on food availability in our future. The milk and eggs that we produce are just hours from the grocery stores. The protein that we are raising now will feed our families in the weeks to come. The crops that we plant today will feed our livestock and fuel our vehicles in the months ahead. And the wheat that was harvested last year is being made into bread. And in the Boot Hill of Missouri, the cotton that was harvested last week can be used to make more medical PPE. Together, Governor Parson, the Department of Health and Senior Services, and our team provided direction to local health agencies on how important food and agriculture businesses are during this time. We want to be very clear to our farmers and ranchers and our agribusinesses. This action protects all parts of the food supply system, and it classifies them as essential workers from farm to fork. This also applies to the workforce involved in agriculture from farm to fork. For more information on the guidance, we encourage you to go to agriculture.mo.gov. To the men and women on the front lines of agriculture, whether you're working on a farm or ranch, or you're in the food supply chain, or the food and beverage industry, or in a grocery store, I want you to know that you're more important than ever to Missouri and to every Missourian. You are the people who make sure that we have food on our tables. I want you to know that we appreciate the personal sacrifices that you are making to make sure that we have food every single day. We need you at work now more than ever, and that is why it's so important for everyone to observe social distancing. We want to reduce the chance that those in healthcare, public service, and food production will get sick. So if you're not feeling well, please stay home. But if you're able to be at work, agriculture needs you. I know many of you who are working on the front lines of agriculture are concerned, and I want you to know that my family is too. I'm a parent. I know you're concerned about your children, and I am too. As the mother of a nurse and a senior in high school, I know the challenges that families are facing right now. As a wife of a farmer who's gearing up for his busy time for planting, I am worried about my spouse just like you are. And as a daughter who has a parent who is in that critical age group that is susceptible to COVID-19, I worry about them too. And as the Director of Agriculture, I worry about my team at the department, as well as the 162,000 farmers and ranchers across the state. It's my job to make sure that we protect the agriculture and food industry in this state, and my team at the Department of Agriculture takes that responsibility extremely seriously. I want to thank my team at the Department of Agriculture for everything that they've done to make sure that we are supporting Missouri agriculture. We want you to know that if you're involved in agriculture, we appreciate you. Sometimes I know you feel like you are unnoticed, but you are not. You are important to every Missourian right now. I encourage anyone who has any questions about agriculture or the guidance that was published yesterday to please visit our website. And remember that together as a team, we will get through these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that update. I think it's important today that we realize COVID-19 is a priority for all of us in this state. I think we all see that. We see it in the news. We're talking about it amongst our own families and where we're headed with that and what are we going to be able to do and when is this virus going to be gone. But I also think it's important that we remember the people that's lost their jobs. And in state government, I'm so thankful for the cabinet members that I have to be able to also to multitask, to know what our priorities are. But the person out there just lost his job, his priority is trying to take care of his family. The businesses are out there that maybe is going to have to shut their door is a priority of ours here at the governor's office also. Taking care of the foster kids of this state is still a priority of ours. Taking care of the mental health institutions across the state is still a priority. All of those things go on all day. The people out there working still today to provide those services for us and for the ones that are fortunate enough to be home, they're out there. I want people to remember that. There's a lot of people out doing a lot of great things today. And here at the governor's office, every day we're trying to focus on, yes, today, what the priorities are, but also of tomorrow and what the future is going to bring for our state and to plan for that, for the times of that. So with that, Kelly, we're going to get a few questions.
We do. First question is from Jacqueline Driscoll, the St. Louis Public Radio. Is the president and federal government doing enough to help you and other governors properly across the nation to address this crisis?
You know, I don't think there's any question right now that the president, the vice president, the governors across this state, whether Democrat or Republican, everybody's out there trying to do everything they possibly can to prevent this virus, to take care of this virus, and to help the people in our country. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Everybody has a different idea of how that's to be done. And I will say this, at the end of the day, there's going to be plenty of time to second guess who done what and why they done it. But right now, there's no doubt in my mind that people in this country, the industrial might of our country, our leadership are all trying to do one thing right now, is take care of our citizens in every state. And I believe the president, the vice president, the other governors around the state are all trying to do that right now.
All right, Governor, we have another question for you. Jeffrey Bernthal from Nexstar. Any update on what lawmakers will be able to, when they'll be able to return to the Capitol to approve the supplemental budget?
Yeah, you know, we're working on that daily with the leadership in both chambers, both Democrats and Republicans, trying to find that time. Look, the legislatures at some point are going to have to take an action. I'm not sure where that's going to be, whether it's going to be here at the Capitol, where it is. They're working on that. But the supplemental budget has to be done. It has to be done by our Constitution, and we have to be able to do that to be able to meet the demands of the people that have lost their jobs, the businesses that are possibly closing the door, to help the hospitals, to help the frontline employees, to be able to have that portion of our budget done. But we have to get that done. And again, I think that's going to happen. There's talks every day trying to find out a date and a time. But I'm confident they're going to be here to answer that call.
Okay, we have another question from Austin Hugulay from the Springfield News Leader. The last time we spoke, which was Saturday, was appropriate for the current circumstances given the public health advice that you had received. Do you still feel that your order is appropriate for this time?
I definitely believe that order is the right thing to do right now for the state of Missouri. I think if people will abide by that order, it's going to help this to get us away from this virus and to make people safer again. But everybody has a responsible to follow that order. There's lots of different orders out there, from whether it's from the urban areas or from the state and from different communities. But the one thing, again, it will come back to us all following those orders. Stay home if you can stay home. Stay separated as much as you possibly can by the 6 feet, and stay away from the crowds of 10. At the end of the day, that should be the focus for all of us in the state of Missouri to continue to do that.
Okay, Austin has another question for you, Governor. Missouri State University's president, Cliff Smart, told us today that the governor had reached out and asked if dorms could be made available to house first responders who may have been exposed to the virus and need a place to stay where they won't spread to their families. Are you looking to do the same at other colleges across the state?
Yeah, to confirm that, yes, I did have that conversation with Cliff Smart at Missouri State University. Look, we're looking at all aspects right now. Everything we have in the state's on the table when it comes to state facilities and when it comes to our leaders. Universities are stepping up to help. But you know, we also got to start considering, where's emergency personnel going to go? And maybe the safest place for them to go is not at home. Maybe it's an alternative location, people that's on the front lines working with this every day. So we're looking at different ways to help with that. We're also looking at different ways. Director Richardson today, we're off the phone to find out alternatives to where we're going to go for hospital beds, if we need hospital beds. But every day we're working on plans like that, and we'll meet those challenges. And again, I can't say enough for all the people that are stepping up. When the presidents of the universities are asking how they can help, every day we're trying to find better ways to provide better service and frankly to protect those frontline workers as much as possible with the patients.
Okay, this is another question for you, Governor, from Brian Hosworth, Missouri Net. Governor, is the Missouri Capitol receiving a deep cleaning while it's closed for the coronavirus concerns? And have you made a decision yet on the UFCW's call for you to classify grocery and pharmacy employees statewide as emergency first responders?
Right. Let me just say, the Capitol every day, we're preparing that for when the legislators come back. We're doing that. We're making sure everything, just like anybody else, other business or even at your homes, we're taking special precaution every day when we're up here. We still have a full staff here at the governor's office. We still have people in the Capitol every day. We're doing the deep cleaning every day it takes to make sure this building is safe as we possibly can make it. I think for the other part of that, when we're talking about what these regulations, who's classified as a first responder and who's not. I think there's a difference between when you get into law enforcement, you look at emergency personnel, your frontline people out there that are working. Look, they've got to answer the calls, and not to take anything away from somebody in a grocery store, in a convenience store, or farmers across the state. But the reality is those first responders are classified for a reason. They have to answer the calls. They have that. I think if everybody, again, no matter if you're out there working today in the public, you take the precautions, 6 feet apart. You say no more than 10 people. All businesses should be following that to protect that everyday worker out there. But right now, we're going to leave things the way they are as far as the first responders under that classification. But again, for all of you that are home, that are able to stay home, you got to remember all these people are out there working every day providing services so we can stay at home, so people can stay at home, can be safe. Those people out there are taking a risk for all of us. That's why, again, it's so important to follow the orders that you're being given, whether that's on the local levels or whether that's the state level. Because those people out there are sacrificing every day for you as individuals. So it's important to maintain that and to continue that order and abide by it.
Okay, this is the final question for today, Governor, from Ethan Stein, KOMU 8. What is the current hospital bed capacity in Missouri, and what conversations, if any, are there to increase hospital bed capacity across the state?
Yeah, I think right now we're working on that number every day. I'm not sure what the exact number of that is today, but we do know there's staff in here that does have that. But every day we're working on different alternative locations. From yesterday we were talking with the Corps engineers how they may help refurbish sites across the state of Missouri, whether that's an old hospital, whether that's a open arena facility. All of those things are in the process right now of being able to handle that situation when the day comes for bed space, if we need that bed space. But there's a plan in place, and we're working on that every day. Director Richardson's heading that up here at the state level, working with Missouri Hospitals Association. So I truly believe we're ahead of the game on that, trying to make sure we're going to be ready for that when the day comes. Let me just finish up today, and I want to thank all my directors and the departments for working so hard every day to help us find solutions during this time of crisis. I want to thank all Missourians for doing what they can to help fellow citizens in need. I'm so impressed by how Missourians are adapting and pulling together in the face of these challenges. From volunteering to help the elderly, to sewing surgical masks for hospitals, ordinary Missourians are responding fearlessly during this emergency. Not just healthcare professionals and our first responders, but supermarket workers, truckers, delivery workers. They are all working long hours and making a difference for all of us. As I said yesterday, the reality is that we will have to have people out every day providing services to the people who are fortunate enough to stay home. But again, for those who can do their jobs remotely and don't have to be out, please continue to stay at home. By staying home, you are helping everyone. I know many people are wondering, when is this going to end? And as much as we all wish there was an answer, I can't tell you when this is going to end. But I can tell you this: the people that stay at home will have a big factor the quicker this virus will be over. And the sooner we all can overcome the challenges of the COVID-19. Together, we will win this battle. All Missourians will do their part. We will win this battle. Thank you very much.